It's just out there everywhere, and no one's having a really careful conversation about this. Now, if you're the parent of a teen, you need to pay attention to the following stats. 13% of teens have had vaginal intercourse by the age of 15. By their 19th birthday, 7 in 10 teens have. Couple those numbers with these statistics, and you'll understand why parents have a lot of concern or cause for concern. A sexually active teen who does not use a contraceptive has a 90% chance of becoming pregnant within a year. Although 15 to 24-year-olds represent only 1/4 of the sexually active population, they account for nearly half. That is 9.1 million of the 18.9 million new cases of STIs each year, including HIV and AIDS. Now, first of all, I want to say, if you parents at home have concern about what we're talking about tonight, please make your viewing choices with your kids accordingly. I think you ought to be watching this with children and having this conversation. We're going to deal with this maturely, gently, carefully. But let me just say, something's going wrong. With all those STIs in young people, we did Teen Moms earlier in the week, and I threw out all that data about teen pregnancies and how common it is. We're doing something wrong. We do the least well of all industrialized nations. So let's consider teenagers an asset. Let's consider the media an asset and see if we can't do something reasonable with this problem. So the first block here, joining me, are 3 courageous high school students. They're here to talk honestly about this topic. I have Danielle and Shelby. Both are 17 years of age. I also have Adam. He is 15. And also I've got Michelle Golland. She is a clinical psychologist who works with teens. Now, first, I'm going to start with Danielle, who's the closest to me, and just say,
hi.
What does it look like? What is it like for a high school student today?
It's really hard because a lot of high school students, they don't have really good communication with their parents, and a lot of parents are really sheltering their kids from what's really happening because they're like, oh, my baby, I don't want her to grow up, I don't want him to grow up.
It's tough as a parent to deal with that. That's another topic that no one ever talks about, is that our little babies are growing up and becoming mature sexual adults.
Yeah, but if you shelter, I feel like if you shelter your kids so much, they're going to want to do more things. My mom and I are very open with each other, and she knows a lot of the things I've done, and that's just because I feel comfortable.
Do you feel comfortable talking about that here?
I feel totally comfortable talking about it.
What have you done?
I have had sex before with a boy who I was with for a couple months, like 8 months. And
you discussed it with your mom?
I discussed it with my mom.
Did you discuss it before you did it?
No. I didn't really want to talk about it. I discussed it after I did it, but she knew right when she saw my face.
But mightn't it have been a good idea to discuss it before?
Yes, it would have.
Do you regret having done it?
In a way, I do, because if I could have gone back in time, I would have waited.
Michelle, Dr. Golland, I'm not yet a teenager yet, female, who didn't say that. I wish I could have just waited longer, no matter what the age was almost.
Right. Well, I think the problem is, Dr. Drew, is that we view this issue through the lens of politics and religion instead of a public health issue. Period. That's what this is.
And these kids, as such, are the source of information on this public health
Absolutely.
issue. So I'm going to go on to Shelby. Shelby, what's it look like from your standpoint?
At school, everyone's doing it.
Everyone?
Everyone. Well, not everyone, but most people, they are doing it. It's talked about so much, and parents really are just in the dark about it. Where I live, in my town, there's a very highly religious population, and they just don't want to admit that their kids are having sex and involving in sexual activity. They just don't want to admit to it.
Well, let's say, now you have only what's talked about, so we don't know for sure what's being talked about is actually what's happening, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
But at least for sure, in yours, you seem, are you tearing up?
No.
Okay. In your town, it's being talked about constantly.
Yeah, people come back from Monday, the weekend, they're like, oh yeah, this is what I did this weekend, and I don't understand why it's like a game for guys. It's a game to see how many girls that they can have sex with, or and they get praised for it too. And us girls, we sit back, and if we, people judge us, and they're like, oh, you're a whore if you go out and have sex with a guy.
Who are the people that judge you?
Our peers.
Your peers, your female peers?
Just high school students.
Boys or girls?
Both.
both.
Aren't girls a little harsher?
Girls
Girls
are
are-
catty.
yes.
That's why you don't guys.
This is the thing that troubles me, is the girls even worse. Adam, you're laughing about this.
Sorry.
But go ahead. What does it look like from your standpoint?
Well, guys, like, I have a couple guy friends who are just like, yeah, I've done it.
At
It's
15?
Yeah, at 15, and I have a couple girlfriends who've done that too at 15.
Do you think that's a
they
good
did it in
idea?
8th grade. Well, not really. I mean, why? Just, this is the question I have. Just why do it when you could just wait until later, make it better? Or
Is
not
it-
better, but like
More reasonable. Has it become normal for a 16, 17-year-old? Is it normative? Is it considered you should be doing that?
Well,
I think people are pressured into doing it
By whom?
by the guy that they're with, by music, by TV, television, just anything. They want to know what it's like to have sex because apparently everybody's doing it. But I feel like you have to be emotionally ready. It's not just physical. It's so many emotions that go with it. And a lot of girls have sex with a guy to make them closer, and that's not what's going to make you closer. Like, sex and making love are two different things.
So-
that not a lot of people know.
Why don't they know that?
Because they're not fully developed yet. They don't maturely.
they're too young.
Do you think the internet has had a role to play here? Because doesn't pornography and all that nonsense the internet just rain down on you guys?
It's so easy. It's so easy to get. I mean, like, it's so easy to get to those, websites of like porno and stuff like that.
Do you think it affects, like, let's take males your age, do you think it affects how they think about young women or women at all?
Yeah.
A couple guys have thought of it more of as a prize instead of a person, or a woman. I mean, like they think just like, oh yeah, I got this chick. It's like win for me instead of.
And they high five at school about it all the time. They're like, oh yeah, I had sex with so and so, and I see it every day, and they're just like high five, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, sex isn't something that should be a game. It should be like respected, and you should value like sex with someone, and it shouldn't just be thrown away with a random person. You should.
It's like competition for guys. Like, oh, I had sex with her. Oh, I had sex with this one. I had sex with that one. And then for girls, a lot of girls, like I said, just do it to bring yourself closer. But a lot of, I think a lot of girls do it because they're insecure or with themselves, and they haven't really met. Not a lot of girls, they say the word "I love you," and they just think having sex will prove that love. But
Which is sad, right?
Right, and I think, one of the big issues that needs to be addressed is that we, as parents, have to speak directly and honestly with our kids and really give them all the information. But again, this overwhelming political and religious bend that we don't talk about it in public school, that we can't address it really, it really colors everything that I think we as parents do. And we know statistically, unfortunately, Dr. Drew, we are failing them. We are failing. We're the adults. We are the country that can, take this and do what we need to do politically, and we don't do it.
Well, we don't look at it as a health issue. But
It's
Shelby,
a health issue.
I can't. You seem emotional to me. Did something happen with you with this topic?
Well, actually today, I just told my mom that I had sex today, actually, and I just want to thank you for that.
You're smiling.
Yeah.
Was it a good experience?
It was a good experience. She wasn't as mad as I thought she would be, but she.
And let me speak on behalf of parents. If we were to get mad at you for telling us something tender about yourself like that, it would be out of fear of you getting hurt.
Yeah.
That would be really what we're responding to, not that you disappointed us or you're not a good person, we don't love you. It scares us, and we respond the only primitive way we know how, which is not a great response.
And I think that we have to address the fact that teens are sexually active because they have sexual hormones running through their body. We have to. Don't you remember? I do. It's what happens.
Yes.
And so we have to teach them about other things, Dr. Drew, honestly, like masturbation, about why they feel the things they do,
Yes.
and really be honest about how they feel about sex and their bodies.
And it is, let's be clear, it's a very personal dialogue that every parent, child, or family has to negotiate. But somewhere we're failing kids. I think the media is failing. I'm hoping this conversation helps a little bit. And I think we as parents need to step our game up a little bit. Now, thank you to the panel. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your courageousness, ladies. Adam, thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, Dr. Michelle, thank you. And we'll see you back, no doubt.